Sparking conversations surrounding mental health. In the book, While You Were Out, an intimate portrait of mental illness in an era of silence, a journalist shares her private story of pain, resilience, and love. Award-winning journalist Meg Kissinger specializes in writing about mental illness and joins us now with a look into her memoir. I have to say, it's hard. It's hard to read, but it's so important.
Yeah.
To me, it was like a tale of two families, right? On the outside, North Shore of Chicago, seemingly privileged, seemingly happy. Inside, really a lot of trauma, a lot of torture. Nobody talking about this.
Yeah.
So what prompted you then to pour it all into these pages?
Right. Well, we were, first of all, thank you for asking that, and thank you for having me to talk about this book. So our family actually is quite a loving, warm family, and my memories of growing up are happy ones.
Yes.
That said, there was a lot of illness, and an illness that we didn't talk about at that time. So the daughter and the sister and me knew the torment of what mental illness was, but I also knew it was something that we didn't have the language for. And then later on, as I grew up and became a reporter, I came across people suffering from mental illness and learned their stories, and really came to understand that this is a two-tiered system that we have in this country, that we don't treat people with mental illness the same way we do if they would have cancer or heart disease.
Right. And in your family, some of the themes, alcoholism, depression, anxiety, suicide, that you often, I mean, you say over and over again, we just didn't even talk to each other about it. It wasn't even about not talking to other people outside. Was that the goal in writing this, to make people say, it's okay to talk about this, get some help?
Absolutely. You know, my brothers and sisters and my parents before us were some of the most charming, loving, funny, warm people I know.
Yes.
And if we could be injured by mental illness and a disease that we didn't talk about, I just know that's very common. And I wanted to put a human face on it, and I knew that our family could kind of be the portal. So if we told our story in an honest way, not sugarcoat it, but also bring out the humanity of how much fun and love that we had, that could make it more accessible to other people.
One thing I thought was so interesting in the book, you talk about, and we're looking at a picture of your parents here, and there's the family, a lot of smiling faces.
Yeah.
You say that people, when they talk about mental illness, refer to the mentally ill.
Right.
But yet they are mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers.
And us.
Yes, every one of us.
Right.
Interesting. You talk about when your dad quit drinking and your mom said, oh, well, he's not going to be fun anymore. And I think there is a fear of that for people who are struggling. You know, I don't want to admit it, for one, but I also don't want to be ostracized.
Right.
And yet that was not the case.
Right. And just for the record, my dad was hilarious whether he drank or not.
Yes.
And then my mother, she also ultimately gave up drinking and was better for it. Not anything against drinking. I enjoy a cold beer or two every once in a while. But anyway, they modeled for us just the willingness to lay themselves bare, to have that humility to admit that they needed help, that they were helpless over alcohol, and that was a good foundation for us then coming forward with the issues that ultimately we were all facing.
And that's an important lesson, I think. One thing I thought was so interesting, that when you went away to college, you thought, you know, most people would think, I'm free. But yet there is that feeling for someone who's undergone trauma to say, I can't be away from home.
Right.
And clearly there are probably many of our viewers who are feeling the same way. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a kind of a paradox. You think that you're excited to leave a chaotic situation, but there's a lot of anxiety around that, and you worry about what's going to happen when you go. So that's why I think I'm so pleased about all the mental health programs that there are now starting to be on college campuses. My own daughter happens to work at Tufts University in Boston doing just that. So helping students as they arrive at campus and are overly anxious and anyway, there are fuller, richer discussions that we're having with younger people and identifying them. I wish that my sister Nancy and my brother Danny would have had that kind of support, and we would have eyes on them and gotten to them before their illnesses got out of control.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about both of them and the letter he wrote you, in a family that you say you didn't really talk about things, yet when he wrote a letter, it wasn't that you were happy about it, you were nervous for him. very quickly, what do you want people to get out of this when they're reading it?
Thank you for asking that. What Danny wrote to me in that letter, which is that people with mental illness are human beings, that they are suffering, that we need to love them and understand them. And if we love them and understand them, we're going to get them the help they need.
Well, there's so much, so profound, so much to unpack in this book, and also sort of the religious, when your sister Nancy died and the nun said she's going to hell. It's, there's a lot, I think, in there, and it's so powerful and profound. Thank you for writing it, and thank you for coming in and talking about it.
Dina, thank you.
So the book, While You Were Out, an intimate family portrait of mental illness in an era of silence, is on sale now. You can find more from Meg at megkissinger.com. I had about 12 more questions I wanted to ask you. We could talk about this for hours.
Yeah. Thank you.